Good morning. The characteristic stroke of the hair. I have a question for you on this Monday motivation. In fact, I've got a few. Are you doing too much? Do you feel stressed all the time, like there's not enough hours in the day? Are you realising that, sometimes, just sometimes, you just try and fit too much in? Well, if you or someone you know is, then this is for you. So, good morning and welcome to this week's episode or edition of Monday Motivation, which I actually changed at the very last minute. I had something planned to share, and this time I wanted to talk about something that actually came up for me only yesterday. This is how kind of hot off the press this is. And the reason I felt it was important to share is because of those questions that I asked at the beginning. Now, many of the people that I work with are professionals. Hey Alan, hey Francis, good morning. Just giving you a wave. Thanks for popping on and saying good morning. A lot of the people that I work with, close up and personal, either in one-to-one situations, in a corporate environment, so in organisations, and also in the entrepreneurial space, so as very busy business owners, we all have, and I class myself in this, I include myself in this, we all have a common theme, a thread if you like, that runs through us all. And that is that we want to get stuff done, and often we want to get a lot of stuff done. So yesterday I decided was going to be a work day for me. So in the same way that I can decide to take the day off today if I wanted to, I can also decide to have a work day on a weekend. And I did. You know, I had the time and the space. I want to get a few things done. And I like to try and get things done before the time that they're needed. And that's, if that were to be a tip, that would be one first tip. If you are looking to get something done, then try to get it done way before it's needed. And then that way you don't have that time pressure under the cosh, looking at the watch, have I got enough time, can't do anything, which is somewhere that I'd fallen into quite a lot. Hey, morning, Celeste. So, I like the way you're all greeting each other by what you do, which is really cool. So, yesterday I found myself with this planned working day of things that I wanted to do. In fact, there were 3 things that I wanted to do, but each of those things involved some smaller pieces underneath. So at 5:30 yesterday afternoon, at the time when really I should have been looking to stop, I decided in my head I was going to continue until something happened. Somebody sent me a message and they said, "Hi, how's your day been?" And I was about to respond and say, "Oh my gosh, I've got so much stuff that I need to get done. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this." And I thought, you know what, when somebody asks you how you're doing, they want to know how you're doing, but they don't want to hear that whole, "Oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, there's this hasn't gone right." You know, people don't want to hear that. And most of all, likely you don't want to hear yourself saying that. So I decided to just acknowledge the couple of things that I'd done, even though in my mind there were a gazillion other things that I needed to talk about and needed to get done. I was quite amazed when I found myself responding back to the message and saying, I think I used the term something like, "I'm just about to get started, but so far I've done this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing." And as I was listing out the things that I'd done, I thought, actually, that's quite a lot of stuff that I've done. And here's where personal development and self-reflection go hand in hand and meet really well. And that is self-awareness. It sounds like such a simple thing to say. Whether you are that busy business owner, whether you are that high-performing professional, whether you are that exec, and you're in a corporate space, being self-aware is going to be one of the things that takes you through, because how can you motivate yourself to do something or not do something when you're unconsciously going ahead doing things? You'll often hear coaches refer to patterns, and what they mean by patterns, or programming as some people call it, are the things that we almost do on automatic pilot, because over the years we've trained ourselves that doing something in a certain way, thinking about something in a certain way, having something be a certain way, we've trained ourselves that that is the way to do it. And because we've trained ourselves and we've done it a gazillion times, a bit like those of us who are walking around, when we're walking, when we're breathing, we don't think about how we do it. We've developed a pattern to keep doing it. And the same comes for self-awareness when it comes to doing better, being better, feeling better. Now, how do you know what to pay attention to yourself, especially if you are busy or doing too much? One easy way is our body tells us. Now, I'm sure that Francelise on here, who's an osteopath, she's an osteopath, but she also does some really cracking great, I'm going to call it body work, some really great body work. One of the ways our body lets us know, you know, other than, you know, we've got a cut, we can see that we need to pay attention, or, you know, we're feeling tired, so we need to rest, are our feelings. Ever had that feeling about something in the pit of your stomach? Something's just not right. That's your body's way of getting your attention. Pay attention to that. It's really important. So how I kind of accidentally, if you like, stumbled across yesterday was I was about to kind of blast a bit of a negative thing, and I thought, well, I don't want to put that on someone else. So like in the pit of my stomach, it's like that didn't feel good to me. So I paid attention to that, which led me on to, well, actually, I've done this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. By the way, I listed 8 things that I'd done. And when I reflected with Facebook friends, the things that I'd done and why I was going to stop working there and then and not continue, not carry on, I realised that on top of that, there were quite a few other things that I had done that day too. So I had this self-inquiry of, you know what, do I always fit that much into a day? Because if I fit that much into a day, maybe, well, obviously it's almost too much. Do I expect that of others around me? And this is a really important note. For those of you who are people helping people, this self-inquiry is really, really important. And I'm just noticing some comments I'm going to read out. So, Francelise says, that's the key to move forward in every situation. Self-awareness, I call it being honest with yourself. Absolutely being honest with yourself. I could have a whole Monday motivation. In fact, I could have a whole one-day workshop on the lies that we tell to ourselves, the promises that we break for ourselves, and being honest with ourselves, because that's another piece altogether. You're so right, Francelise. You're so right. Pay attention to your body. Francelise gets this and agrees with this, and I know on many levels that you do, Francelise. When you're feeling, there's 2 states that you're going to feel generally. Yes, we could say there's emotion, surprise, you know, exhaustion, happiness, you know, ecstasy and all of that. But they really fall under 2 main emotions. One is one where you feel blissed out, whether it's excited, happy, pleased, you know, joyful, or whatever that expression is, you'll feel great about it. And the other one, you won't feel so great. Start with those and use those as your kind of like your, you know, what's the word? The tool where you go out in the desert and look for water. Is it the divine tool? The dividing tool? I can't even think. My mind's gone blank. But use that as your like your navigation system through life. So when you find yourself with a list of things to do, a big list of things to do, and you find yourself not feeling great about it, anxious, stressed, overwhelmed, worried, or anything else like that, pay attention to that. Compass. Yeah, there's another tool. I'll have to go to the Big G and have a look at what it is. If you're in the desert and you're looking for water, there's like a rod. I've seen it in films and things. There's a rod that you hold, and it kind of bends and tells you where the water is. But anyway, and it kind of drives you towards the water. Anyway, use it as like your sat nav, your guidance system is a better way to say it. So if you're doing too much, here are just some insights that I got from my thing of yesterday. So the first thing is to always know that you have a choice. You always have a choice. Now, this is one of the ways we keep ourselves trapped. We have a choice in every single given moment, every single day, and everything that we do. I could, for example, choose not to do this Facebook Live. I advertise that I do it every Monday, apart from bank holidays, at 7 a.m. But if I wanted to, I could choose not to. The choice I make is to do these at 7 a.m. every Monday. Apart from this morning, it seemed it took a couple of minutes before I could be let onto the Facebook Live and stay on the Facebook Live. And fingers crossed, we're still there. So this is the thing, and Celeste just made a comment, I seem to think I don't do enough. Well, Celeste, this is where I got to yesterday. This is how I got onto this. I was about to kind of basically whinge and moan and say, oh, I haven't done enough today because I've still got this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. So Celeste, and anyone else who resonates with that, I seem to think that I don't do enough. I want you to do something that I'm about to suggest in this list of things, because of course, you know, I can't just give you one thing to think about or to explore. I'm going to give you a sample of a few things, and you pick the one that feels great to you. Okay. So, and France Lise is also saying, I would add, ask yourself why you feel the way you do once you've paid attention. Absolutely. So here are some things that I'm going to share from the process I went through. Like I say, this is pretty hot off the press. So this is me kind of processing it and what served me and what didn't. So the first thing was, you have a choice. You always have a choice. If you have got a to-do list and you write down your things that you're going to do of 12, or worse still, you keep them in your head, I've got these things to do, know that you have a choice. Literally, you can do them or try to do them all or not. You have a choice. You can decide that out of the 12 things you've got to do, there's just one that you need to focus on. And actually, on Saturday's event, A Time to Shine, I'm going to be taking you through a very quick process to help you pull out the thing that is going to make the biggest difference to you. So I think that was going through my mind when I looked at this, you know, apply this stuff to myself too. So the thing is, you can choose. You've always got a choice in any given moment. If you find yourself, you've checked in with your body and you've got that kind of bad feeling, it doesn't feel great, then it's likely that it's telling you that the things you've got on your to-do list, like there's too much, the things that you want to achieve are too much, so you're not going to feel comfortable. So work out a way to do either one of those things or less of those things. Here's the next thing. Notice what you're doing. This is what I found yesterday quite insightful to myself. I was the one doing all of these things. I was the one that intended to do even more of these things. But when it came down to it, good morning, Faye. When it came down to it, by sending that message back, if that question hadn't have been asked of me, I probably would have just carried on working till a stupid o'clock last night, but I didn't. So notice what you're doing, like be present in what you're doing. Now, when you're in the moment, it's our pattern. We've done it a gazillion times before. We just keep pushing through. We do the stuff that we need to do and we just keep going. But I would recommend that rather than write a to-do list, that at the end of your working time, like before you've even started, set an end working time and stick to it. Be accountable, tell people around you, I finished work at 5 o'clock today, so you know, if you see me near my computer, you have my permission to take it away, which means that if you do that, but I just need to finish this thing, then at 4:30 you want to make sure that you're either close to finishing it or to a place where you can stop. So you don't argue with your family, friends, co-workers because they're pulling the plug out of your computer or taking the stuff away from you. So that's something that I would say. Notice what you're doing, and the best way to notice what you're doing is the next thing that I'm going to talk about. Write a I done it list. Now, no, that's not proper English. I did it list. Write a what you have done list. So when you finished your work for the day, or when you're close to that time, sit down and say, like, this is what I've done today. It will likely in your head start with, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. Put that on a separate post-it or piece of paper and throw it, you know, throw it out of your sight, throw it away, and write down what you have done. Because if you're anything like me, what I realised yesterday was I was amazed at the number of things that I did do in a short time. I actually started a bit later than I wanted to. I was convinced that I hadn't done anything. And actually, I made some dents in a couple of the bigger projects that I wanted to do. So although they're not finished, I don't have the, oh my gosh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, because I already know that I've done a piece. So break it down. Break it down. People talk about chunking things down. If the project is you need to write a 100-page document, for example, put it on your list, do it as a task, and if you write 1 page, be happy because you've made a start. If you write 2, 10 pages, be happy because you've now done a certain percentage of it, and in your next time you can do a bit more. One of the things that I realise that a lot of us do, and it's funny, I see this playing out for other people, especially clients that I'm coaching. When we have these one-to-one conversations, they often tell me about all the things they're disappointed with, and I feel like the one that's pointing out that, well, actually, you have done this and you have done that. But where this stems from, Francelise alluded to this a little while ago in her comments, where she said, well, have a look at kind of like the emotion behind it. There's one simple emotion that is behind it, and it is this: you don't think you're enough. So I want you to know you are enough. Celeste also made a comment that pointed to this. So I don't think that Celeste or Francelise in their comments or their questions or their statements are any different to any of us. We're all the same in this way. It just shows up in various different ways or different degrees. But Celeste said she doesn't do the to-do list because she doesn't think, I don't think that I don't do anything. And before that it was, what was it you said? I seem to think I don't do enough. Now that resonates on so many levels because so many people talk about this. The reason you think you don't do enough, the reason I think I don't do enough, the reason I thought yesterday that I didn't do enough was underlying that because in some way I believed that I wasn't enough. Breathe that in. If you come to a point where you're like, I haven't done enough, I need to be further along, where that stems from is a feeling and probably a belief or a knowing deep down within yourself. And this isn't true, but you will think, I'm not enough, therefore I'm not doing enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not speedy enough, I'm not eloquent enough, I'm not visible enough. All of these I'm not enough things, I haven't done enough, come from that place. So really important to note where that is. There'll be areas of your life where you don't even think about it. You know, when you're with your pets or your children, family and friends. Do you ever look into a baby's eyes, whether it's your baby or someone else's baby, and think, oh, my sweet thing, you're not big enough yet. You need to be way taller than you are at the moment. Oh, my sweet little child who's crawling around and bumping into things. You're not very good at this walking malarkey, are you? You keep falling over. I mean, do we think that about the people we love? Do we? So why do we do it to ourselves? Why do we do it to ourselves? So when we use self-awareness to have a look at what we're doing or not doing, what we want to do or actually need to scrap, when we look at that kind of a self-awareness, this will almost like point us into our areas of where we think we're not enough. And again, I could explore more deeply on that. And for everybody, even if 10 of you said, I'm watching this video, I don't feel like I'm enough, I don't feel like I'm doing enough, there'll be different nuances for each of you, different things under the bonnet, so to speak. So I'm not going to go much further into there, but once you start to notice this, there are a couple of things you can do, especially when it comes to to-do lists. And I'm going to go back and read the comments in a second. You can either delegate or dump. So the thing that you need to do the housework. If your child is old enough to wield a Hoover, and I don't mean like strap it onto their their baby walker, so they end up hoovering as they walk around the house, because that would probably be child cruelty. But you know, if you have adult children, teenage children, young children, give them a task to do, delegate it to them, delegate it to a partner if you have a partner in the house, delegate it to your flatmate or housemate if you have that person. If you live by yourself, why don't you delegate it to a cleaner? You know, a very good friend of mine was once asked, she runs a very successful business, and she was once asked, what are some key tips that you would share to help us run a business, you know, be profitable and be more efficient? And there were 3 things she said, but one of the things that really resonated and stuck in my mind was, get a cleaner. How many of us are trying to work, especially when you work from home, trying to work and trying to tidy up or put the washing in at the same time? Get a cleaner. Get a cleaner, and that part of your headspace is completely freed up. Your house will be cleaned and somebody will help you. And you know, cleaners don't cost the earth. Yes, there's a bit of budget to put out, but they don't cost the earth. And when you know that you can get your cleaner in to do all of that sort of stuff, that's something you could delegate out to something else. Or you could delegate it out to one of the kids for a bit of extra pocket money, or you can just delegate it out to somebody else in the house, okay, other than you. So can you delegate it or dump it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. The thing that I do want to finish with before I go back and read the comments is acknowledge it. Acknowledge the ground you've walked on. And I don't mean that in a trite way. Oh, but Jenny, you've got up at 7 and you've done your Facebook Live. Well done, you. I don't mean it in that way. I mean, really acknowledge. You know, somebody said to me on a post in the group yesterday, Jenny, you know, I hope you're celebrating yourself for making a difference in the world. And part of me wants to go, oh, not me, oh, you know, oh, thank you for saying that, you know. And then the other part of me thinks, actually, I get a lot of messages from people. I receive like emails. I receive so much feedback from people that I am making a difference in their life. If I don't own that, how can they? It's a bit like somebody giving you a gift and you say, no, I don't want it. It must have cost you a lot of money. Take it back. I will not accept it. It's like pushing in their face. And if you don't bless them or don't thank them, then you're not thanking or blessing yourself either. You know, and this is something else that I could talk a lot about, the kind of the flow of giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. A lot of us are givers and we love to give, but there are also times when we need to receive as well. And it's not, well, I'm going to give 20 times and then I'll receive once. It needs to be in balance, in flow. The output of giving and receiving, giving, you know, giving help, giving assistance, receiving the compliment, receiving the cash if you're a business owner, receiving the pay rise if you're at work, receiving the kudos when somebody says you really did a good job, you know, and really acknowledging that and taking it in. So let me go back to your comments and read your comments. Okay, so delegate or dump. Let me just go back. Oh my gosh, there's loads of comments. Lovely. Let me go through these comments. So France Lise is saying, yes, we are a generation of judgment. We are too harsh on ourselves. I believe it's because we are coming after the generation of women who never stop. France Lise, there are so many reasons for that, and you are so right. So the first thing I want to say is there's a Hay House author that's written a book called The Judgment Detox that kind of got these insights almost and put them in a book. And you know what? If you look back at some of your comments, France Lise, there's no reason why you couldn't write, like, not even one book, a lot of books on these sorts of things because of the knowledge that you've amassed. It's interesting how we sometimes say, oh, you know, I trained as this thing, but along the way we pick up skills and tools to do lots of other things. Those skills and tools are powerful, and it's about time the world hears more from France Lise about your discoveries and your insights on the way, because that comment there, you are spot on. Celeste says, no, I do not think that when I look at a baby. Okay, I can't respond to that. That's a statement. So, no, I do not think in that when I look at a baby. So it might not be a baby. It might be a pet. It might be, you know, it might be a friend. It might be somebody you admire. There will be something. And if, just if, and I don't think this is true for you, Celeste, if you're looking at somebody else and let's say, for example, you're looking at somebody else's pet, somebody else, or a baby, and thinking really, really harshly, then it's likely that actually we are judging ourselves. You know those times when you feel like in a bad mood? Yeah, I get them too. And I kind of want to walk down the street and someone smiles and you kind of want to go, I don't want to smile at anyone today. That obviously says more about where I am in my body space and my head space than them. They're being friendly. Why do they smile at me? What are they after? You know, I don't really go to that place very often, but there are times when I'm just like, you know what, I'm feeling like I'm in a bad mood today. I take myself off to the park. So yes, I think what you meant was when you do not think that when you look at the baby, wasn't their love and everything else like that. I think what you meant, Celeste, just to clarify this for anyone who's watching on the replay, I think what Celeste meant by that was when she looks at baby, she doesn't go, get up, you little idiot, or come on, you should be taller than that. I think that's what she was confirming in that comment. So, you know, let's love Celeste. Let's not go, how could she say that? Faye says, I sometimes think the kids aren't quiet enough or don't sleep long enough. Exactly, but you know what, they're kids, that's their job. One thing I haven't got children myself, one thing I've always noticed about babies, which I guess because I'm not a parent, I find hilarious, but parents don't. That thing where they can be really teeny tiny and you're looking at them, and my nephew did this as a baby, and you go, oh, they're so cute, and you lay them down and they arch their back like a little angry cat. I'm not lying down. You're going to try and trick me into going to sleep. I'm not going to go to sleep. There's too many exciting things to see there. And this little tiny soft baby contorts their body into this still thing that will not lie down and will not sleep. They say that we're all born with the fear of two things, the fear of being dropped and the fear of loud noises. Babies are born with a naturally sweet tooth. I know that is biologically correct, and I'm sure Frances can could tell us the science behind that, but I want you to save your wisdom, Frances. And the other thing is, it's like, try and lay them down to sleep, they're not having a bar of it. They're like that. There's so many funny stories that spring to mind, you know, like trying to take my little nephew up to the bath when he was 4. He was playing in our garden and digging, and he was muddy from head to toe, and his arms and his legs, for a tiny child, arms and legs went out through the banisters of the stairs, and it must have taken us 10 minutes, 3 adults, 10 minutes to try and take this child upstairs. So children know when they want to do something and when they don't. They don't sit there, especially when they're babies, they don't sit there and worry about it and obsess about it. They're like, nope, I'm not lying down, I'm not going to sleep. They make a decision, they choose, and they stick with it. I find it amusing because I'm not a parent and I don't have the sleepless nights and stuff like that, but I get it. You know, I've babysat, looked after children, got, you know, small children in my family. So yeah, the kids aren't quite enough. And here's the thing, Faye, as a mother, look at how you let them know that they either need to quieten down. This is really important because, you know, when you go around the supermarket and you hear those mums are like, Jenny, get in now! Shut up, nobody wants to hear you. Guess what my coaching practice is full of? People that 20 years later, 30 years later, 40 years later, 50 years later, and for one guy, 70 years later, I never forget this. I was speaking to a guy whose teacher, he was 74 years old, his teacher at school when he was 11 told him he would never come to anything. And of all of his successes, you know, he had become really successful in business, you know, got married, got widowed, got married again, built up an amazing company. The thing that he always talks about is when the teacher said he would come to nothing. It was like he was on this perpetual wheel trying to prove it. So really, really important. Really, really important. Yes, Celeste says delegate or dump. I cannot delegate to my elderly father. If I was to be coaching you, which I'm not, but if I was to be coaching you, Celeste, I would say, well, that's fine. Who else can you delegate it to? Look for ways that you can, not ways that you can't. That's the thing that blocks us. And this is something that I've bumped up against. And again, there's always the head, the heart and the hands in the work I do. When we go deeper into the head, the mindset, or as my friend Christine Schlonsky says, not the sales, but the mentality of it all, there are little blocks that sometimes we need to shift or transform in some way. So anytime, for any of you find yourself saying, I can't do the thing, again, this is funny because I'm going to talk about this on Saturday. There are ways you can transform that quite quickly. And there'll be ways. Alan says, I write all my jobs on a list in Word. When I complete the job, I automatically cut and paste to a completed list underneath. I used to do this every year, but the list got too big. I now do it every month so that I can see what I achieve each month. It means that I can quickly choose a task according to the time I have available, but always prioritising it first. And that's a really good system that Alan's developed because that clearly works for him. One of the things that I found as a high achiever, and Alan's post in itself shows that he's a high achiever, is think about how much time you spend on adding to the list and moving it to the to-do list. Okay, now there's no right or wrong in this. The difference in Alan's case is that this gives him that nice feeling, that good feeling in his gut, not that, oh my gosh, I've got to sit and do the list. The point where it did give him the, oh my gosh, I've got to sit and do the list feeling was when he realised that he was trying to do it over too big a length of time. So what he did was, he chunked it down, he made it smaller, he took a smaller part and now does it monthly. And that's how he's made that work even more for him. Celeste said, I had a cleaner. She cheated me in respect to the time she used. Find it difficult to trust somebody. Well, you know, Celeste, as a busy and growing business owner, that's something that I can acknowledge because we all have those incidences where those things happen. But it's something that you need to find the best way that you can move through and past that. Otherwise, you'll keep yourself in a place that doesn't serve you. I am sorry that happened though, and I know of a lot of people that have similar experiences, but there needs to be a way to move through something like that. Not forget about it, because I don't believe we always forget about it, but to move through and past that. So Alan says that he's got a cleaner as well. Celeste says love to give, which often means for my beautiful people that are watching these that are givers, sometimes it's out of balance. You're like, give, not receive. You'll know this if you're not receiving the compliments. You'll know this if you find it hard to state what you're charging for. You'll notice that you're doing that if you find it quite difficult to not feel like you have to overgive in any kind of social situations, group situations, even online situations as well. The other way that this weirdly affects people, and I know this from the speaker training that I deliver to people, and I want people to be able to speak authentically. I want you as a speaker to stand here and just talk to your audience and connect with them in a good way. I don't want you having to put on an act and what to do with your hands, because it blocks your connection with the crowd. So in a program that I have called Speaking Out Authentically, it teaches you not only how to speak effectively, especially if you're doing it for work or for business, it shows you how to communicate and it shows you how to connect. And it also shows you how to lay out your content so that you don't over deliver. Because if you're a giver, which about 90% of the people that I work with are giving people, it means that your talk can be like way too long. This is still a work in progress for me. You know, I'd love these Monday motivations to be, 15 minutes long to honour people's time. However, the feedback I get is that they're still useful, and I want to receive what you're saying here and make sure that I respond to them while I'm still on live. So Faye says, I get that. When I finish a treatment, I get thanked and I haven't quite got over the feeling embarrassed, but I know I'm good at beauty therapy. So here's something for anyone that gets embarrassed when somebody says, thank you so much, it was amazing, you're amazing, anything else like that. 2 words need to come out of your mouth. Thank you. That's it. The reason why is, even when you politely say, oh, it's nothing, I enjoy it, it's like the person is physically, they've given you a gift and you're saying, it's okay, I don't need it. When somebody pays you a compliment and says something like that, they had a choice as to whether to say it or not. They chose to say it, so receive it graciously. This might be a stretch too far, but let's stretch you this Monday morning. The other part of this, and this comes from some of the work that a lady called Laura Doyle does, whenever someone compliments you, and she talks about this in personal relationships, specifically for married, people that are married. And when somebody says, "Oh, darling, thank you for making dinner," two phrases are to come out of your mouth. The first one is "thank you," and the second one, brace yourself, is "I know." Now, I did a talk with a group of executive women, and we kind of laughed and talked about this, because the first time I heard it, I was like, that's arrogant. But think about it. When a young child comes up to you and says, "I love you," or, somebody that you are really close to tells you that you're special, or that you're loved, the feeling is, "Oh, thank you, my darling. I know you do." So if you have to tap those words, "I know you do," that's the energy and the place to come from. Thank you, I know. And really receive that. Practice doing it. Practice doing it with your closest, nearest and dearest. And to your surprise, they're not going to say, "What do you mean, thank you, I know?" They're actually going to just love on you even more. So, yes, what else have we got here? Francie says, "Jenny, you make me flush. I'm learning to accept compliments." You need to, my girl, because you've got some really important work to do in the world. Kids are champion at it. My 5 is always hungry when it's bedtime. Cheeky boy, your 5-year-old. Yes, I can't, I'm hungry. I need food. I can't sleep. My stomach hurts. Yeah, I've had those. So, yes, Francis, I love that you're looking for ways you can. Brilliant. And you've started now. Good, decisive action taking. I could say so much about how French teachers were king at destroying minority kids' spirits by telling them they're useless. I could say a lot about people in authority in general who are taking care of kids and not being the most helpful. But you know what? Today, I'm not going to go there. I always say things like, "That's really interesting, but I'm sat right next to you, so there's no need to shout," or "Let's have 10 minutes of mouse and snuggle time." Oh, that's so cute. Parenting tips from Faye. I love it. And you've got to meet Faye's kids. They're so cute. They're each and every one of them with their own little personalities and characters, and they're so cute. Celeste is saying that she's learned to take days off social media to protect herself and that way recover. And it's interesting because I know that for some of my audience, in fact I was talking to a friend yesterday, when I decided to stop work, a friend of mine who lives around the corner came round and we had a couple of glasses of wine and a good old chat. That was great. And she was saying the same thing, how she's going to delegate certain days where she switches all the tech off. Completely doable. Now, Celeste, when you're delegating certain elements of your work to someone else, you won't ever need to go, "Right, I need to switch off," because that could be pointing to an area where your delegation comes next. Someone who's really great at doing the tech stuff for you so that you can switch off more. And the reason that I suggest that is because you used the word protect yourself, which means that there's an element of it that you feel that there is some sort of protection to be had. Again, this is no judgment. Everybody is very different. So it could be that you're feeling that. And Celeste also says she has learned to say thank you when someone pays her a compliment, which I love. So thank you so much. I'm glad I got through your comments, questions, thoughts. Oops, I've just made it look like I've gone to heaven. Thank you so much. This ran a bit longer than normal, so I'd love you to do something. If you've watched this, enjoyed this, any of the comments on here, or people that you know this will resonate with, they don't often get to see these or hear these Facebook Lives, what I would urge you to do is, if there's a group you're in where you can share, please share it with them. It might even be your own group. If there are, if you've got Facebook friends on your timeline, just share it on your timeline, and be sure to tag me as the Queen of Being Seen, Jenny Kovacs. Some of you tag me as me on Facebook, and then it means I start getting a lot of interesting messages from people. So if you are able to share this and tag me as the Queen of Being Seen, Jenny Kovacs, I'll be very appreciative. But more so, I'm appreciative of you sharing this with your nearest and dearest, your family and friends, your colleagues, your peers, and anyone else. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful Monday. And what I would like you to leave with is two things. There was a lot of ground we covered in today. What's the one thing, oh, hiccups. What's the one thing that you, just pick one thing that you will take from this today and kind of embody, put into action, take with you throughout the week. I'd love to hear what that is. If you're not part of the Visibility Vibes tribe, click visit the group button. Go over and let us know what it is that you're going to share from there. Put the hashtag Monday Motivation and I get to see it too. And the thing that I want to leave you with is acknowledge yourself for what you've done so far. Acknowledge yourself when you are busy for the things that you are doing and what you have achieved. And know that you are good enough. Know that you're good enough. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing some of you in the flesh on Saturday at Time to Shine. If you haven't got your tickets yet, there's still tickets left, so you know, go up to the events there and grab your ticket. If you're going and some of your friends aren't, share it with a couple of friends. I'll be so grateful. There's some familiar faces in the room and there's some brand new faces in the room too, so I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have fun. Namaste to you, Celeste. The light in me salutes the light in you and vice versa. The light in you salutes the light in me. See you soon, and look forward to seeing what your Monday motivation is going to be. Thanks so much, Alan, Faye, Celeste, France-Lise and the puppies. And for the rest of you that are watching, I can see many of you are watching that haven't commented, so I'll respect your privacy. Thank you so much. Bye for now.